We'll place some auto-floating dormers into the roof of this story and 1/2 building with a 10 and 12 roof pitch. Note here on the second floor we have some very low exterior walls. We also have an interior wall that we see here in plan as well, of course. And in plan we see these dashed lines. They represent the ceiling break lines. And that's where this flat ceiling platform is cut off by the roof, here and here. We could leave them on, but I think just to make it easier to see the other things we're going to be doing, I'll turn them off by going to the Plans Layer table, and in the Layer Display options, find and turn off the Ceiling Break Lines layer. I'm also going to remove the flat ceiling platform. I'll double click the room, and in the Structure panel, we'll uncheck Ceiling over this room. So we no longer have the flat ceiling platform. And we'll place our dormers here in this room. Let's begin by going to Dormer Defaults. I'll go to the Roof Tools, find the Auto Floating Dormer tool, select it, then double click it to open Dormer Defaults. In the Roof panel, we could change the roof type. There are several choices for the style. I'll leave it at gable. We can always come back and change it quickly and easily later. I'll change the pitch to 10 and 12 so that we can match our dormers that we place to the main roof with the same pitch. I'll leave the roof overhang, fascia and rafter framing values, and the auto roof return values unchanged. We can easily come back later and change them. All we would have to do for the auto roof return is check this and set the properties we'd like to have. If we go to the Walls panel, we can also choose any wall type that's in our plan for the dormer wall type. We can set the height here in the dialog to whatever height we desire, and this is the only place where we can set the height of the dormer. We can also set the width of the dormer here, and we'll find that we can change the width in plan as well. Let's go to Line Style and note that the dormers will initially go onto the Auto Dormers layer when we place them. Let's look at that height value a little bit more. I'm going to open a CAD detail by going to CAD Detail Management, and choosing this dormer height detail that I have already made, and we'll expand it so we can see it better. The dormer height is measured from the front of the dormer, from the location where the dormer front connects to the main roof, to the top plate of the dormer walls. So when you change the dormer height, that's what you're adjusting. I'll retile the windows, and actually maybe we'll get rid of, in the camera view, the cross-section slice so we can see the entire building, and then we'll be better able to see the dormers when we place them. So we'll make sure we've chosen the tool. We'll get a cursor shape indicating we're placing a auto floating dormer, and the little crosshair determines where we place the front center of the dormer when we click. So if I click right here, you'll see the front center of the dormer goes in right there. You can place the dormer anywhere within a single roof plane, except over other walls in the case of the auto floating dormer. Notice if I try to place one here, it warns us that we cannot create a dormer here because we have existing walls in the way. The dormer needs to be moved to another position to work. So I could right click on it here, find the front handle, and drag it away from the wall, and it would form a dormer. Notice too, I'll drag it over like this and then drag it right onto the peak. So I'm trying to place it now in 2 roof planes, and it won't do it. It will slide down into the roof plane so that it can be fully contained within 1 roof plane. So let's delete that dormer, and we'll work with the first dormer we've made. I'll press the space bar to go into Select Object mode, and click on any wall of the dormer to select it. But if you get too close to the dormer window, you might select it instead. It's the one item within this dormer that can be independently selected. But when you click on a wall, you select the entire dormer. You select its roof planes, its window, all its walls, and the hole in the roof that's created to form the dormer. You can move the entire dormer and all of its components together by dragging that front handle up and down or left and right, or hold the Control key down and Control drag it for better flexibility and movement. You'll have temporary dimensions that allow you to size or position the dormer. So for example, I'll click this one and use 4 feet here in this case and click Move Entire Object to move the entire dormer a certain distance from the wall. You can also do that here. I'll use 7.5 feet, putting in the foot sign and clicking here to move the object and not just a wall. If you want to move just a wall, you can do that. I'll use 6 feet here in this case. I've selected the wall, put in the dimension, and I just hit enter and the wall will move. But the dormer's position hasn't moved. It's still 7.5 feet away from the exterior wall. One of the best benefits of the auto dormers is how easily they copy. But before you copy a dormer, you're going to want to customize any attributes that you want to have in all the dormers. So I'll double click on a wall here to open this dormer. In the roof panel, I can choose a different roof type. Let's try shed. Note the pitch goes to 3 because the shed roof must go at a shallower pitch than our main roof in order to tie back into it. But the other roof types are going to be able to use the pitch setting that we've used, in this case 10. So I'll leave it at barrel. And in walls, we could change the height here. So for example, I'll just use 72 inches. And we could also change the width as we wish. We can adjust the window too, but not here in the specification dialog. Let's go back to plan and click on the window. You can see I've selected it. I'll double click it to get it open conveniently, and we can change its properties. So for example, I'll choose double casement. I'll do a 3040 36 tab 48 tab, and let's change some lights. I'll decide to have 2 lights across, tab, then 3 lights down, and this is what it's going to look like. So I'll click OK, and we see it here. Once we've configured all its properties, we're then ready to copy it. So back in plan, I'll fill the window, and we'll copy our dormer. I can select it, click the copy tool, and simply drag it by the handle that you drag the whole dormer. Or I could use the transform replicate tool and click copy and specify how many copies I want to make. Click move and specify the direction and distance I want each copy to move. I can also use the multiple copy tool. So I'll select that, and in the edit submenu we're going to have the option to choose the multiple copy interval. We can evenly distribute or offset between copies. So if I choose this, I would use the general objects entry here, but I'm going to choose evenly distribute. I'm going to set the primary number of copies to 3, click OK, and then drag by that front handle, and they will evenly distribute. Now I'll center them. If I go to select objects mode, I can drag and select objects mode and touch the dormers to select them all. But I must be careful in select objects mode not to touch anything else, or I'll select it too. Another option, if things are crowded, is to go ahead and go into your dormer tool, be in the dormer mode, and then shift drag in dormer mode. Then you can touch more than just the dormers, but only select the dormers. And I'll use the center object tool, find the centering reference line right here, and click. And so now we have them all centered in our building. We can also copy our auto floating dormers to other roof planes. I'll go to select objects mode, select this one, click copy, and simply click in the other roof plane to place the front of the dormer. You can also drag, so if I could select copy there and just drag it over and get it into the other roof plane, I can do it that way too. Let's go to the 3D view and reposition a little bit so we can see them. I'm going to delete these two and get a little more detailed and copy all 4 at once. And I want to place them so that their fronts are the same distance from the exterior wall as these. I'm going to need to remove this interior wall, so I'll delete it. But I want a reference. We place these 4 feet in, and I need a reference here. So I'll simply draw a CAD line, drag it across here, select it, set it to the 4-foot distance that we want. There are many ways to do these kinds of things. This is only one example. And now I want to go back to dormer mode, shift drag in dormer mode, and copy. And then I want to pick up a snap reference. There are several. I just want one that I can use, so here's one. But I want to make sure to pick up a reference that's on the front of one of these dormers. I'll just pick this one here, and I get the triangle indicating I'm at the center of the window and the center of the wall. So I'll copy from that reference, but before I click, I'm going to click the point-to-point move tool. Then I'll come back and get that reference we talked about. Click one time, get the extension lined up over here and onto the line and click. And notice we have dormers now on the other side, and if we go back to the 3D view, we should be able to see they're at the same height, and they have matching positions on each side of the ridge of the roof. So when a dormer is going to lie within a single roof plane, we can use the auto floating dormer tool, provided there are no walls below it. And it is very easy to place and position and modify a dormer's properties, and then it's very easy to copy that using Chief Architect's selection of copying techniques. Let's do another thing here in Plan. Let's get our full camera and take a look from inside at our auto floating dormers. And I'll bring it down so you can see the effect from the inside. Here, I'll go to Select Objects mode. You can select the entire dormer, open it and make changes, or you can select the dormer's window and make changes to it as well. So for example, you can make more than one window in your dormer. And finally, you can also explode any auto floating dormer. When you select a dormer, you move the entire package. But when you explode a dormer, using the Explode Dormer tool here in the Edit tools, you no longer have an entire package. Now you have a single roof or maybe multiple roof planes. You have individual walls that you can select. You have a hole in the roof that you can select. And you have the separate window that you can select. And once you've exploded a dormer, you cannot repack it. And exploded dormers are much more difficult to copy. However, there are times when there are benefits to exploding a dormer, and we'll discuss that in another dormer video on exploding dormers.